Have you ever accidentally spilled wine on a stranger and ended up falling for them? Miles and Lena's love story will surprise you. Dear beloved fans of soul and love stories, their journey proves that love often blooms from fateful fumbles, a wrong table, a spilled glass, or a glance gone astray. Today on this gentle March weekend in 2025, we wish you to always hold hands with your loved one, cherishing the beautiful mistakes that guide you to love. Believe in destiny? Drop a like now, share where you're watching from, and hit sub to reach 1,000 with us, spreading faith to 1,000 loving hearts. See you in the next tale. Miles Donovan, 38, sat rigid at the VIP table of Le Ciel restaurant in Chicago, the crystal chandelier casting a glow on his expensive black suit. As CEO of Donovan Tech, he awaited investors for a $100 million deal, but they were 20 minutes late. His fingers drummed the table, icy blue eyes scanning the room. He loathed unprofessionalism with every fiber of his being. Just then, a small tornado named Lena Carter, 26, barreled into his pristine world. Lena, in a wrinkled server's uniform, her high ponytail a chaotic mess like she'd just run a marathon, had clocked out from the kitchen. She charged across the restaurant floor, arms straining under a towering stack of dirty dishes, eyes darting for her friend Amy, who'd texted, "I'm at the VIP table, save me." Assuming Amy was stuck with demanding guests, Lena didn't pause to think, hurtling straight to Miles's table. "Amy, chill, I'm here," she shouted, slamming the pile of dishes down. Miles's red wine glass tipped, splashing across his suit in a vivid, glorious mess. Miles shot up, voice cold as stone. "Is this how you serve, or are you auditioning for a comedy gig?" Lena looked up, realizing she faced not Amy, but a jaw-droppingly handsome man who made her want to beg forgiveness on the spot. Instead, she planted a hand on her hip and fired back. "I'm saving your friend from VIP snobs. Where's the thank you instead of griping?" He wiped his suit with a napkin, smirking. "You've just turned me into a Picasso knockoff." Lena glanced at the stain, stifling a giggle. "Well, you do look pretty artistic now. Hold on, I'll clean it." She reached for a napkin, but her clumsy hands knocked a plate to the floor. It shattered with a crash that turned every head in the room. Amid the mess, a paper slipped from her pocket, a rough sketch of a coffee cup, smoke swirling into a heart. Miles picked it up, studying the lively lines for a long moment, his gaze softening. "You drew this?" Lena snatched it back, blushing. "Yeah, just doodles. Sorry about the wine. Wrong table." She spun to leave, but her foot caught a chair leg, nearly sending her sprawling. "Another VIP disaster," she muttered under her breath. Miles called after her. "What's your name?" She turned back, flashing a bright grin. "Lena. You, Mr. Artsy." He quirked a lip, a near smile, rare for him. "Miles." As Lena vanished into the crowd, Miles stared at the wine-soaked suit, then thought of the sketch he'd almost kept. The investors arrived shortly after, but his mind drifted elsewhere, to the girl who just spilled his world upside down, in every sense. 3 days after the wine disaster at Le Ciel, Miles Donovan couldn't shake Lena Carter from his mind. It wasn't the red stain that ruined his $5,000 suit. He'd sent it to the dry cleaners that night, but the scribbled sketch she'd dropped amid the chaos. He'd grabbed it before the staff could sweep it away, and now it sat in a drawer in his sleek penthouse office, next to his laptop and million-dollar contracts, a coffee cup with smoke curling into a heart. Absurdly simple, yet brimming with life, a stark contrast to the sterile, icy world he'd built. It gnawed at him, a quiet reminder of something he'd lost long ago. That day, Miles drove his Tesla to a small coffee shop in West Loop, a few blocks from Le Ciel. He told himself it was just a change of pace, but in truth, he'd tracked down the faint Bean and Brew logo on her crumpled apron. When he stepped inside, the door chime jingled, and there she was behind the counter, wrestling the espresso machine like it had personally offended her. "One black, no sugar," Miles said, his voice steady as if he hadn't just scoured half the city to find her. Lena looked up, eyes widening, then burst into laughter. "Mr. Artsy, back to let me wreck another shirt." He slid onto a stool at the counter, smirking. If you're pouring, I wouldn't expect anything less. Her laugh rang out again as she started brewing, but his steady gaze threw her off. Her hand slipped. A stream of hot coffee splattered across his pristine white shirt. "Oh no, not again!" she yelped, darting around the counter with a fistful of napkins, dabbing at his chest like he was a canvas in crisis. Just then, the machine went haywire, spraying foam all over them both. Lena squealed, Miles flinched, and then they both cracked up, a rare shared laugh that warmed the tiny shop. "Planning to turn me into a mobile art exhibit?" Miles asked, voice rough but playful, letting her hands linger. Lena glanced up, cheeks flushed, grinning sheepishly. "Sorry, I'm a total klutz. You show up, and I can't stop breaking stuff." She brewed a fresh cup, careful this time, and handed it over. Miles spotted a shaky heart in the foam. "Second apology," she shrugged, adding, "Figured you needed some warmth after the wine fiasco." Miles gripped the cup, fingers tightening. "You're this bad at coffee and still work here?" he teased, masking his fluster. Lena propped her chin on her hand, winking. "Only when VIPs rattle me." "So, kept my sketch or trashed it?" He paused, sipping to dodge the question. "Forgot to toss it," he lied, voice dropping low. They chatted about coffee, the busted machine, his childhood aversion to wine, but a subtle spark flickered between them. When Miles left, the cappuccino's heart sat untouched, and he wondered if he was losing it, wanting to return, not for coffee, but for her. A week after their coffee shop encounter, Miles Donovan decided to do something he'd never considered: invite Lena Carter, the girl who kept spilling things on him, to a charity gala sponsored by Donovan Tech. In their last chat, he'd casually mentioned an ex who made me hate wine even more, never imagining she'd soon test him. He called Lena, his voice stiff like a business report. "Saturday, 7 p.m. I need a +1. You free?" Lena, sketching in her shabby apartment, nearly dropped her pencil. "Go with you? So I can spill wine on more VIPs?" Miles laughed, a rare sound he let slip. "I'll send a dress and shoes. Don't say no." Come Saturday, Lena stood before her mirror in the emerald gown Miles sent. A dreamlike beauty, though the 10-centimeter heels were a nightmare. She hobbled into the Ritz-Carlton, where the gala unfolded, paparazzi flashes erupting as she appeared beside Miles. He, in a sleek black tuxedo, reached out to steady her when she nearly toppled at the entrance. "Back on stilts, huh?" he teased, voice low but warm. Lena blushed, muttering, "I swear I'll make you pay for these shoes." The night started smoothly, Lena clutching her champagne like a hammer, making Miles hide smiles behind her every quip. But the mood shifted when Vanessa Reed, his ex, approached. Vanessa, tall, blonde, sharp as a blade, had ditched Miles a decade ago for a richer man. Now she smiled sweetly, resting a hand on his shoulder in front of Lena. "Miles, it's been forever. This your new maid?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm, her glance at Lena like she was sizing up a thrift store find. Lena stiffened, gripping her glass. But before she could fire back, she slipped on those cursed heels, accidentally elbowing a passing waiter. His entire tray of cocktails crashed onto Vanessa, wine, juice, and ice splashing across her pristine white dress. "What the hell is she doing?" Vanessa shrieked, leaping back like she'd been assaulted. Lena gasped, "Oh no!" But Miles, instead of fuming, burst into the night's loudest laugh and pulled Lena behind him. "Vanessa, go clean up." "Lena's with me." He turned to Lena, whispering, "You're the best whirlwind I've ever met." Paparazzi snapped furiously. Tomorrow's headline sure to read, "CEO Donovan and Mystery Girl wreak havoc at Gala." Lena mumbled, "I don't belong here, Miles." He squeezed her hand tighter, voice deep. "You belong where I am." But his eyes flickered as Vanessa, post-cleanup, returned, whispering in his ear, "Still picking up strays, Miles? I miss you." Lena overheard, her face paling. At the gala's end, she yanked off the heels, clutched them in hand, and snapped, "Keep your fancy world, Miles," before storming out, leaving him standing there, hands in pockets, that old ache of loss creeping in. This time, though, He wasn't sure he'd let it win. After the gala, Miles and Lena fell into an odd rhythm. He started visiting the coffee shop more often, and she'd text him funny sketches, like one of him drenched in a tray of cocktails. The chemistry between them grew undeniable, but Vanessa's shadow lingered like a wine stain that wouldn't fade. One evening, Miles invited Lena to his penthouse under the pretense of reviewing design files. They laughed over dinner, Lena sharing her dream of becoming an illustrator, while Miles, for the first time, cracked open his past, a lonely childhood spent ignored by parents in a frigid house. But that warm moment shattered when the doorbell rang. Miles opened the door and Vanessa swept in unannounced, her tight red dress blazing, voice dripping with honey. "Miles, we need to talk. Just you." Lena, lounging on the sofa with a mug of hot cocoa, froze. Vanessa flicked her a smug glance. "Oh, the gala maid's still here?" Lena set her mug down, ready to snap back. But Vanessa pulled Miles to a corner, whispering loud enough for her to hear. "I was wrong to leave you, Miles. I want you back. She doesn't belong with you. Look at her, just a clumsy nobody." Miles stood still, his eyes darkening as memories of Vanessa's betrayal a decade ago flooded back. How she'd chosen money over him. He growled, "Get out of here, Vanessa!" But Lena didn't wait for him to finish. She shot up, voice trembling yet sharp as a blade. "I'm not a maid, and I don't need to sit here while she insults me. Want to replay your old movie with her? Go ahead, I'm out, Mr. Artsy." She snatched her sneakers and stormed out, leaving Miles stunned between Vanessa and the void she'd left behind. He booted Vanessa out moments later, voice icy. "You've got no claim on my life anymore." But when he called Lena, she didn't pick up. His texts went red, unanswered. Days later, he swung by the coffee shop, but she'd switched shifts. In her tiny apartment, Lena churned out sketches. One of Miles holding Vanessa, his gaze as cold as the day she left. She tore them apart, telling herself he wasn't worth her tears, but they fell anyway as she recalled the rare smile he'd once given her. Miles, in his penthouse office, stared at Lena's first sketch, the coffee cup with a heart, his heart torn. He ached to run to her, to fix things, but the fear of being hurt again held him back. Vanessa had shattered him once, and now he wondered if he had the courage to trust in love with Lena. The silence between them hung heavy, like Chicago's sky before a storm. But both felt it. Something vital was slipping away. 2 weeks after the penthouse fight, Lena Carter dashed through Chicago's rain, her soaked sneakers squishing, clutching a portfolio stuffed with sketches she'd poured her heart into. She'd just been rejected by a prestigious gallery, a pitch she'd hoped would change her life, only to hear the cold dismissal. "Not good enough, Ms. Carter. The market doesn't want this." She'd held it together as she left the meeting room, but when the rain hit, she slumped onto the curb, tears mingling with the downpour. The sketches in her bag, her lifelong dream, were now smeared, dissolving like her hopes of a future with Miles. Meanwhile, Miles Donovan sat in his penthouse office, staring at Lena's first sketch, the coffee cup with a heart. He'd tried to erase her from his mind, but every sip of black coffee summoned memories of her clumsy cappuccino. His phone rang. Amy, Lena's best friend, the one who'd unwittingly waved that fateful night at Le Ciel. "Miles, did you hear Lena got rejected by the gallery? She's out in the rain somewhere, not answering. I'm worried." Miles dropped the phone, his chest tightening. He grabbed his coat and bolted out, ignoring his assistant's shout. "You've got a meeting in 10 minutes. He sped through slick streets, eyes scanning every corner, until he spotted Lena huddled under the awning of a shuttered shop, hair plastered to her face, clutching her torn portfolio. Miles slammed on the brakes, raced over, and opened an umbrella above her, the soggy coffee sketch still in his hand. "Lena!" he called, voice hoarse with panic. She looked up, eyes red, and snapped, "Go find Vanessa. Leave me alone." Miles knelt, heedless of his expensive trousers soaking through, holding up the drenched sketch. "You woke me up, Lena. I'm done hiding. I don't need Vanessa. I need you. I'm sorry I let you think otherwise. I love you." Lena gave a faint, bitter laugh, her voice breaking. "You always show up when I'm a wreck, huh? They said my art's not good enough, Miles. I've lost everything. He seized her icy hand, gripping it tight. You're not a wreck. You're the one who brought me back after 10 years of being dead inside. I'm more scared of losing you than any pain. I believe in you, and I won't let you lose me. Rain kept pouring, but Lena met his gaze, seeing raw honesty in those usually cold blue eyes. I don't know what to do anymore, she whispered. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, despite their drenched state. I do. I'm here for you. Lena rested her head on his shoulder, tears falling again, this time from relief. Under the rain, they stood in silence, but both knew this was the moment everything shifted. After that fateful rainy night, Miles convinced Lena to stay temporarily at his penthouse to recover her spirits. She hesitated, her pride warring with exhaustion, but finally agreed, dragging along her smudged portfolio and a battered suitcase stuffed with faded clothes. Miles' sprawling penthouse, with its sleek floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of Chicago's glittering skyline, stood in sharp contrast to Lena's cramped, rundown apartment. Yet within days, her chaotic energy filled the sterile space. Sketch pads scattered on the counter, a stray sock dangling from a chair, and the faint scent of her lavender shampoo softening the air. One evening, determined to shake Miles out of his rigid habits, Lena hauled him into the kitchen. You can't live on black coffee forever, she declared, thrusting a slightly stained apron into his hands with a grin. Time to learn something useful. Miles, in a crisp white shirt with sleeves rolled up, eyed the espresso machine like it was a hostile takeover target. He jabbed at the buttons experimentally, only to yelp as a burst of hot foam sprayed out, scalding his hand. Are you trying to sabotage me? He barked, hopping back. But Lena's booming laugh filled the room. She grabbed a towel, wiping his hand with mock exasperation. A CEO who can't draw a heart? Useless. Giggling, she slid her hand over his, guiding his fingers with surprising patience to shape a wobbly heart in the foam. When the cappuccino emerged, lopsided but charming, Miles stared at it, then at her, his eyes twinkling with rare amusement. You're the worst teacher I've ever had, he teased, but his voice softened, carrying a warmth she hadn't heard before. For a moment they stood there, the hum of the machine fading into a quiet that felt oddly intimate. They soon settled into a gentle rhythm. Lena sprawled on the sofa, sketching furiously, while Miles sat nearby, flipping through files, stealing glances at her. He'd smirk whenever she absent-mindedly chewed her pencil, a habit he found oddly endearing. One night she handed him a framed drawing, their chaotic Le Ciel encounter, wine pooling on the floor, yet both of them laughing mid-disaster. The day I ruined your suit, she said with a sheepish grin, pointing at the wall where it now hung like a trophy. Miles took her hand, his voice low and steady. The day you saved me. Lena's presence cracked his armor. For the first time in a decade, Miles opened up about Vanessa, how she'd sneered at his softer side, branding him a loser for craving a quieter life over endless ambition. His voice tightened as he recounted her betrayal, but Lena just listened, her silence a balm. Then with a pen, she doodled a tiny heart on his hand. You don't have to be afraid anymore. Just be you. Miles squeezed her hand, feeling his heart thud back to life, strong and unburdened. They didn't rush, but each shared moment, a laugh over burnt toast, a quiet evening tracing city lights, pulled them closer. Under the penthouse's glow, Miles watched Lena, the clumsy girl who'd stumbled into his world and knew he'd fight to keep her there forever. From a mistaken table to drenched shirts, Miles and Lena proved that love can be as messy as a laundromat on a rainy day. Dear beloved fans of soul and love stories, cherish those fateful stumbles, a spilled glass of wine, a wandering glance, or a clumsy heart, because they're what lead you to your other half. Today, on this cozy March weekend in 2025, we wish you to always hold hands with your loved one, staying healthy and radiant to embrace sweet love stories like this one. Love a good destined mishap? Drop a like right now if you believe in messy romance. Shout out your city in the comments and hit subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subs. It's not just support for the channel, it's a cheer for 1,000 hearts beating wildly all over the world. Thank you for being with us, and see you in the next tale from Soul and Love Stories. Loads of love, and don't be afraid to spill a little something to find your true love.